So we are really lucky today to have Dr. Cheryl Wilen from UCIPM. She's based in San Diego, but she's come all the way here to talk about some of the work she's been doing on steam weeding. And this is something that has come up as there's renewed interest in steam weeding and other forms of physical mechanical control for weeds, especially in light of the Roundup restrictions and so forth that we've been seeing the past couple years. So I think I said it in the email, the technology's been around a long time, but there are some new gizmos out there and we want to know how well they work. And so that's why we have Cheryl here to tell us.
So, so here's how it's going to work. Let me just get this all keyed up here. A lot of people don't like this, but I like it, so since I'm giving the presentation, it's going to be the way I do it. Is that if you have a question, just ask it, okay, in the middle of the presentation, okay? And I'll be happy to answer it then, okay? And then we'll go from there. So I have a presentation I want to start, but let's go. Hopefully that'll work. There we go. Okay. Technology. Okay. Yeah, so please just, if you have a question, just go ahead and ask it, and we'll go from there. And, apparently I have a lot of time, and since I'm from Cooperative Extension, I can talk forever. Okay, so you might have to hold me back. Okay, so I was asked to give a little presentation about what's going on with this steam weeding work that I've been doing, or steam weeder. So the background for this was that the Department of Pesticide Regulation wanted me to essentially do some demonstrations for school sites because of the Healthy Schools Act. The schools don't want to use pesticides if they don't have to around school sites, and a lot of times herbicides are used in many different ways, whether they're keeping weeds out of cracks or in the playing fields or just around different places. And they said, look, here's a tool that perhaps it can work, but you really need somebody to really sort of get out there and look at it before school starts spending a lot of money and then deciding that it's really not going to be worth their time. So this is the one. So there's two companies really that have what I consider viable machines. One is this company called Weed Techniques, and they make this type of steamer. Although this is the smallest one. This is the baby steamer, and they've got bigger ones that you can attach, like mount on a truck, and they have water tanks and everything. But because of the limitations that I have on where I'm going to store things and whether I can put things on a truck or not, I couldn't permanently mount it. I got this one. It's called the SW, which I assume stands for Steam Weeder 700, which means he probably had 699 other versions before they got to this one. And I think I've seen about 400 of those that didn't work. So, but this one actually works okay now. It's really now more of a commercialized machine that they're selling, and I think people are picking up on it.
Can you share this presentation with us when you're done, or
The tip pot is right here. Just put it right, yeah. No, it's fine. Actually, Chris has a copy if you want to just send it out.
I'm going to post it on the website and
okay.
The video.
Okay, great. Yeah.
How much does that weigh?
It weighs 500 pounds. Okay. So what I have to do for this one? That's a good question. You mind if I kind of go off on it? I mean, I can really just like talk about some of the things that we found, and this is a good picture to just kind of show that, just to begin with. So like I said, there's some that you can mount on a truck, so this comes out of Australia, okay? So all the technology comes out of Australia, but there's a company in Fresno that actually puts everything together that they don't need from Australia. So like for example, let's try this. I feel like the hand of God doing that. So this comes from Australia, this comes from Australia, this comes from Australia. The motor, and the pump, everything, that's just like a big Briggs & Stratton motor. Okay, so they can just get that anywhere. The pressure, this is the boiler for the hot water. I think they might have to get that from Australia. But anyway, so it kind of saves some money by not having a lot of things that have to be imported. And like I said, so this place in Fresno puts it together. Really, really good customer service. Like if I have any problem, I call them up and they're right there and they're like, hey, you know what? We can drive there tomorrow if you need something. We can get it going. So on that end, quite good. So yeah, and they'll sell it to you whatever you want. If you want a big tank for water, they can put a big tank on the truck. If you want, you know, something like this, they can do that. Now the thing about this is that we found is problematic, and I thought it would work out really well, is this, you know, this whole thing is 500 pounds, right? And so I bought a trailer so I can just like pull it up on the trailer, and I pull that, and that seems to work okay. The problem is once you take it off the trailer, these wheels don't turn, okay? I don't know why they made it like that. And so you can go really well in a straight line, right? But if you've got to turn, it's like, okay, so check out the biceps. So yeah, so that's kind of the problem with that, all right? So just a consideration. I don't know. Like I said, again,
Who does that work for?
who does that works for me, okay, because I have small areas that I do. What is your site again?
Oh, the water department, which
Yeah.
could not be steeper.
Right. So yeah. So but the other thing is that there is, and you'll see it in some of the pictures, is there actually is a, and they can make longer hoses too. But you get approximately, so you can just have that sit there. This one's direct connect to a water source. Okay. So I've got a hose, like a regular garden hose, and I can have the hose as long as I want it. It can be 400 feet. Okay. And then there's another hose that goes from the tank to the wand. Okay, and that can be like 100 feet. So you really get, you know, if you really wanted to, you could have like 400 feet worth of play in that.
So
But
there's no water tank.
not on this one,
And
okay,
is there
because this is
anything
meant to be mobile.
proprietary to that? You get, like, I have a pressure washer that has a diesel thing
Right.
that heats up the water and boils that.
Right, right. So the key to this, there's three things actually proprietary. One is the heads,
Yes.
okay, so they're actually made pretty fine-tuned. Like they made 5 liters per minute of water. You know, they hold the heat in there, and there's special ways to connect it and so forth, so you don't, for safety issues, okay, so they don't blow off, you know. So there's that. The other thing that's different from a pressure washer is that the pressure washer will give you, you know, if you can do a heat, like the company that makes these in Fresno is actually a steam cleaning company.
Yeah.
You know, they'll make that. So, but the key about this is it's not just water heated to 212 to boiling, it's actually heated to 250, okay, and it's higher pressure. So that's the key to this one that makes it a little bit more effective than just a high pressure. In fact, this water, when it comes out, it's not really that high a pressure. It's not like blowing the, like if you had that, you'd be like, it's more of a mechanical thing. Like if you want to weeds out of a crack, you know, that high pressure thing could just like go bzoop like that way out of there, which is fine actually, in my opinion. You know, so yeah. But this really is just the hot, super hot water coming out. So that's the difference. And people have asked me, it's like, hey, you know, I can get one of these things that like steam clean your clothes or steam your clothes. You know, how come I can't just like retrofit something like that? And it's like, again, it's the pressure, you know, even though it's not a lot of pressure, plus the higher temperature. Okay, so those two things together really makes this a little bit different. And, you know, this little machine probably costs about $11,000. Okay, so yeah, $11,000 for the little one. Okay, but, okay, so we had somebody from I can see this is going to go for 2 hours. We had somebody from a school district, so you're all aware of like the contact herbicides, you know, like Avenger and Suppress and, you know, right? You know, you've probably used those as sort of your alternative herbicides. Yes, no? Yeah, okay. So I had a school district when we were watching a demo of this, you know, we had the company come in. And so this is $11,000, and he was saying that he just spent $8,000 just on the chemicals, okay? And that's a one-time thing. So, you know, if you're going to amortize this over 4 or 5 years, actually it comes out, you know, cheaper in the long run. Okay. So, but again, this is the little one. The bigger one costs about $25,000, but you could have 2 people working at the same time with that. Yeah, so again, you know, this is something that you're going to have to decide, like, where it's most appropriate to use, where it might be workable, where it's not going to be workable, and so forth. So, all right. So any other questions about this? Yeah?
So those are 2 different heads that you would use in different...
3 heads, actually. Yeah, so this is a smaller one. This is 12-inch, and then there's a bigger one. Okay, 24 inches, okay? And they can also make different sizes. I mean, again, they can fabricate what you need. The key is, you know, this connection here and what's inside here. So the outside is sort of just what they can make to hold in the steam and the heat. Okay, and then the other one is the shower head, they call it. Okay, so that's 3 there. Okay.
We have a large unit which is mounted in a trailer.
Uh-huh.
We try to use it on the trucks for milling, but for that needs to be special mounted in a truck. So we have it in a trailer. We didn't use that much, but it's a very hot water.
Uh-huh.
It has like 100 gallon tank and the boiler.
Uh-huh.
Boiler works with diesel.
Right.
We have the large unit.
You have that, yeah, the big one. So do you have with two hoses?
Two hoses.
Right.
50 feet at most. This one.
Okay, yeah, yeah, but you need a dedicated truck or a dedicated trailer. Yeah, right, so that's like an extra expense on top of that. Yeah, okay. So, all right. So one of the reasons, obviously, you're going to go to an alternative to glyphosate. Some places get scared of glyphosate, again, because of public perception. And then also because of these bozos like this, that this is at a park where we're actually doing our trials. And so it looks like, and you can see tire tracks. Can you see that there? Okay. And so what happened, this happened about the same time we started the trial. And so the park manager calls me up and like, Cheryl, what did you guys do? And I'm like, it wasn't us. That would take a lot of work to do that. It looked like what happened is that this landscape company, which by the way lost the contract for this, had glyphosate, had a tank of glyphosate, probably had a wand, and somehow the wand was leaking. Probably went over the tires, or the boom went over the tires, and so as they just, as the truck went along, that glyphosate just kind of dripped along and took it. And so this stayed like this for, probably about 6 weeks, okay, which kind of shows you how long glyphosate lasts. This is on kikuyu grass here, okay, so you can kind of see that type of control. But this is the kind of thing that people see, and it is a little bit scary because, that landscape company was completely, ignorant of the problems that could happen when you don't use a chemical responsibly. So and again, they were going to lose the contract anyway, I have to admit, but I think this just kind of hurried it along. And maybe they wanted to lose the contract, I don't know. So, all right, so here's the situation in action. So what we did, we started out, so you can see this hose here. So this is insulated hose on the outside. It's kind of like a fire hose. Inside of that is a hose that's kind of, are you familiar with PEX? It's about a 1/2-inch tube. It's kind of this, so it's about like that same kind of diameter, but it's a different material. It's a high temperature hose because what's coming through there, like I said, is 250 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's kind of high temperature. So that's inside that other hose. You can hold that hose, okay? You can hold it with your hand, okay? It'll just feel warm. But if you go and touch the place now, okay, so let me get up here. So between like right here and where the, the nozzle trigger is, that can get hot, pretty hot. And so we recommend that people wear gloves when they use it. You don't need like fancy gloves, just sort of like a gardening glove is usually enough there. So yeah, so that's all like that. He's got a trigger, he holds that. The hot steam comes out of here, okay? And then he's able to just like go place to place with that, okay? And he can go pretty fast actually.
Once again, what's the pressure and how many gallons a minute are you using?
Okay, so the pressure is like 900 psi, okay? And it's weird because it seemed, and again, I don't know physics that well, but it's like the lower the pressure, the higher the temperature we can get. Yeah. So if I try to get it like 1,000, the temperature goes down like 212, but it is tricky. And that's another thing about this, which I'll talk about, I think, is that, so I lower it to about 900 psi, and I can get it up to 250. If I want to get a higher temperature, what happens is the pump kind of starts fading out, okay? Yeah, so it's a little bit touchy about this machine as well. I don't know, what's your name, what's your name? I'm sorry?
Salvador.
Salvador, did you find you've got to mess around with it a little bit to, yeah?
Where we attach the coupler and the nozzle, sometimes it's very hot.
Uh-huh.
And we have problem with one coupler, we have to order special.
Okay, yeah, but for the pressure, did you have to adjust it like all the time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
adjusted.
Right, yeah, so for me, I have, this is the guy that works for me. His name's actually Guy, so it's kind of hard to talk about him. So Guy is here, and so he does a lot and, all the work, and I have to stand at the machine and kind of just adjust it. So it's really almost like a two-person job, even though I'm doing the easy part because I need to watch it.
It's a low volume, it's not that
Oh,
much.
I'm sorry. Yes, you asked that too. It's 5 liters per minute, okay? So about a gallon and a quarter per minute. But, to do this whole park on the first time took about 3 hours, even though, not everything was done. Like here, this is kind of interesting here. So you see we did it around this light pole. You see all that water? That's there, that muddy water. So it does put out a considerable amount of water if the longer you hold it. But he probably, since it was our first time through, we probably held it a little bit too long in that part, but we were just kind of working through it. After about the 3rd time of doing this, I got a little water meter, and it used 50 gallons, okay, in about a half an hour, I think is about the time. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So what's the advantage of 900 PSI? Lower than that, what happens?
Oh, lower than that, the engine starts cutting out for some reason. The pump starts cutting. Yeah,
It's not
right.
a delivery need.
Right, it just, yeah. So and when we see the other one I'm going to show you called Foam Stream, I'm going to talk about the comparison between these, sort of the touchiness of them. So, so that's, but the reason I put this picture in here, okay, is very telling because here he is, he's doing that, and it's noisy, don't get me wrong, it's like a pretty big lawnmower engine that's running, that's pumping this stuff. And so it's no muffler, it's pretty loud, but if you have it, 200 feet away, that little machine 200 feet away, it's not quite so bad. So, but, he's able to do that while kids are playing in a playground, okay, which you can't do even with the organic herbicides. So in that case, you don't really have to worry about the timing of it. You can't say, oh, I got to do this before 6 a.m. before people start playing or anything like that because I don't want exposure. It's like you can do this any time of the day. So it's not an issue. Although I have to say, when we started it up the first time, people jumped. Okay, so yeah.
What's the difference between this one and Waipuna?
I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so this one is Waipuna's out of business, but Foam Stream, the other one, picked up their patents. Okay, and that one uses the foam. So I'll talk about that. Okay, but this one just strictly water. Straight steam. Yeah, right on. Hose, tank, nozzle, no foam, none at all. In fact, they don't want people to add anything to the tank, okay? Because some people say, oh, can I add a little bit of herbicide in there? Or can I add some? And I'm like, no, they don't want to. In fact, people started asking us, in this park, because they'd never seen anything like this. And they're like, what are you doing? Are you putting herbicide in there? Like, no, it's just water. We actually had to make a little sign because we were like running out of time. People kept asking us. So we just put a sign that said, we're killing weeds with steam. And so, that helped a lot, actually. So, yeah, Chris.
Maybe you're getting to this, but how long did it have to be on a weed?
Right, okay, so we thought it had to be a long time, like hold it, move it, hold it, move it, but it's really just kind of a very quick, just like about that speed actually, okay? So not too long. It's a lot longer than having a backpack sprayer, I'll give you that, because like I said, the first time we went through, it took about 3 hours for this park. And, we came back to the car and we're all beat up because, we've been carrying the hose and it got noisy and everything. And I kind of looked around to see what we what we treated. And I said, you know what, if we, get this on tape, I guess. So if we were doing this with a herbicide, it would have taken us 15 minutes. Okay, so just kind of like give you an idea. But after that initial time, I'll get to a second. After that initial time, the amount of time we spent went down significantly. Of like 3 hours to half an hour.
So compared to by hand.
Yeah, compared by hand, right. Yeah, it's a lot better. And you're not bending your... I'm sorry?
Is it killing
Oh, I'll get to that in a second. Let me get this guy here. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Does the nozzle have a tendency to lift up? Because I'd be afraid of it, like, blasting out something.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no. It's kind of weird. And again, I'm not really familiar with the physics. But yeah, it's coming out at 900 PSI, but it's not like not blasting out. It's not like a... what do you call that thing? The steam cleaner. Yeah, it's not like a high pressure washer. Yeah. So it's kind of, even the shower head, it's not at super high pressure or anything like that. Yeah. So nothing's been like, no rocks or anything went out anywhere. Yeah. Okay. We could even put it over mulch stuff and doesn't blow the stuff around. To your question about the weed seeds. Yes. Okay. So it's my impression, okay, that if weed seeds are on the surface, it's likely to kill them. Okay. But most of the weed seeds that are problematic, you know, that become part of the seed bank that really come emerge, they're like the first inch, okay? So what happens after the top, all right? So what I've got Guy doing, he's collecting weed seeds right now, and we're gonna test that out later on in 2019. So we're gonna, you know, like put the stuff in little bags and, you know, impose the treatment and then germinate them out and see what happens. Okay, yeah, right? Okay, somebody else, yeah.
I just, the machine itself, you feel like it's pretty safe in terms of working around it? Like, have you ever seen it malfunction, like a little steam leak or anything?
No, nothing like that. We did have a problem in the demo one, is that because they use it a lot, there was like a hose problem where the hose did break, okay? And in that case, it wasn't like they had a lot of hot water or anything come out, but it is a concern that, you know, you really have to watch that.
Pretty dangerous.
Yeah, but we, sure, yeah, but even that, it wasn't like a, you know, it wasn't like, you know, like if you're spraying and you get a hose, you know, hose break like that. And I mean, that happened to me once, and I, you know, hose broke and I just got, you know, a bunch of stuff on the side of my face, but it's nothing like that at all.
Is there an exhaust that you have to keep people away from?
No, there isn't. Okay, yeah, okay. Any other?
How long's the hose?
The hose is as long as you want it to be, actually. So the garden hose for this, you know, it can be long because it's just, essentially, that's just delivering water to the boiler, okay? So as long as that boiler gets constant water, then it's okay. This other one, this is 100 feet, okay, the insulated one, but the company can make them longer, okay? You don't want it super, super long, though, because I think you still, even though it's insulated, yeah.
Temperature-wise, the temperature of the hose is still low.
Right. So I'd go the other way, you know, get the garden hose as long as you can. But the fact of the matter is most people in this room would probably use the truck-mounted one, okay, where it has a tank, so you would just drive the truck to where you're going and just move that around. Okay, all right?
Gas boiler?
It's diesel. So you got to have two things. So you need gasoline, regular gasoline to run the pump, and then the boilers run on diesel. So it has two tanks in there. It's
Nice, but, so does it really just do top kill, or is, if you, yeah.
yeah, they have another piece. It's like a spike that you can insert into the ground, and they say it does a good job on like perennials like nutsedge or Dallas grass and so forth. And so we asked them to bring one out because that's like another piece, and it costs like, you know, over $100 for that, and I wasn't ready to spring for that. So we borrowed one and they demoed it, and you know, it goes in the ground. It has like spike. It's got like holes in the side, you know, and so we tried it on Dallas grass, and yeah, it did a little bit of kill at the first time, but it still came back. So I'm not really sold on that, to be honest. And even if it worked, I mean, you'd be doing, you know, that all the time. If you have, do you have smut grass, Spirabolus indicus here? No? Okay, it's like a tough grass. We get it a lot in playing fields and stuff like that. I think that might work in that case, you know, because there's very distinct, you know, toughs that you could
Wouldn't
use
that
that.
be a factor of soil texture too? Like sand, you get more penetration?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But yeah, there's some soils that will work better than others, but I think really the way it is, because it's so localized, it's really not that big a deal, okay? Because really the temperature's being moved by the moisture, okay, as opposed to the soil. So you don't get, you know, if the soil's more dense, it would probably hold the temperature longer, okay? But again, it's so localized that I think that difference between municipal, whatever that word is. Okay.
So if the taproot, like on a dandelion or something, is like longer than 5 inches, is this not that effective, or does it work good on a
Right.
tap 3 inches?
It wouldn't get the taproot. You need that spike, and even that, like I said, I'm not really sure. And that spike, if you're interested in the spike, they can make that as long as you want it as well, okay? But yeah, but it's really top growth, okay? Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, so here's some places where we've used it. This is, okay, so we started out in July, and so here's Guy just going along the line here, okay, which worked out really well, you know, if you want a nice clean edge along there. And you can see what happens. I think this was the week after, okay, so that's the kind of effect you get. And that holds up for about 2 weeks. Okay, so if that's what you're going for, it's pretty nice, you know, along fence lines and so forth. That's what the top. And then here's another place that's around a, you know, baseball field. We have that. So you can see, you know, the length is the head. Okay, he's got the head turned perpendicular to the wall for the most part. Here he's got it parallel to the wall. But that's how wide you can get it. So you can get it, you know, like 6 inches to the width of that head, or you can go as far as 12 inches of the head. I think we've got a 12-inch head or 24 inches, depending what you're looking for in that situation.
Would it take the same amount of time with the 24
Yeah.
width? Yeah. And how long would it take to do
For that, like I said, when we first did it, because we really weren't sure about how to do it, that probably took about 5 minutes to do that. It's about 50 feet, okay? But once we actually saw the demo, now I have to say, when you buy this machine, you don't get a choice. You have to buy the training with it, okay? Training's kind of worth, I think it's a little overpriced, but the training's with it, and when that happens, you know, it's really one-on-one. And the guy will show you, like, this is how fast you have to go and so forth. Yeah. So yeah. So, but after we kind of got that was faster. And then again, after the first time, we moved to a shower head, and that's really fast. Okay. So you can go pretty fast after that. So like, first time took about 5 minutes. After that, probably like 1 minute, I guess, to kind of go through. Because keep in mind, if you do the timing right, like every 2 or 3 weeks, now that's pretty short time between applications, but you're going to not have, you know, 100% weed cover all the time. You're probably going to be down to like, we put a trigger in, if it's 70% control or less, that's when we would do another treatment. So we had a threshold when we were treating, and if you do something like this, I would also suggest that you set some kind of threshold to know when you're going to be treating.
It's pretty easy to see where you've already sprayed.
Yeah.
If you're doing a big area.
Yeah, because the vegetation turns like a bright green, okay, first. All right, and then, yeah, you can see that. Okay, so it's not super fast like if you sprayed a lot of the contact herbicides and you come back, you know, a couple hours later and you see they're all wilted and everything, but it is pretty fast. You will see them wilted. Okay, so again, so this is the playground. So what we did initially, so we treated it, okay, so we did a first treatment at the end of July, and we came back 1 week later and treated again. So this is what it looked like. So it's this edging right here. This is what I want you to look at. So right along there. Okay, so we did the edging along the playground perimeter. And so that's what it looks like. Again, that's mostly kikuyu grass. So that's what it looked like one week later. Okay. And then we treated it again that day, and then this is what it looks like 1 week after the second time. So it's still pretty good, okay? But we did it 2 times because we wanted to make sure that we really knocked it back a lot, rather than treating it once and then waiting like a month and then treating it again, because I think we'd have too much regrowth after that. So that was our initial treatments. After that, we found that we could actually wait a little bit longer. Okay, so again, this is around a picnic table that was on a cement pad. And so this is what it looked like at the beginning. So this is just starting. And so what the guy's doing right here is he's got the head, you can see, perpendicular to the pad. And then here it is, 731. Okay, so this is the next, oh, let's see, 7. So we did 831 1 week. So this is like 3 weeks after the second treatment. Okay, so we just did the end of July, did it a week later, so that'd be 8/4, and then a month later is what it looks like. And really super, super good edging, right? If that's what you're looking for. Okay, very distinct. Although, when this happened, I told the manufacturer, the guy that invented this, I said, oh, look how good this is. I'm actually surprised, because I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest. And I said, yeah, look how good it is, you know, how nice that edging is. And he goes, well, you know what? You know, at this type of site, you probably could have just gone with string trimmers. Okay, you really didn't need to use it. He's like, use this where you really need it. And I thought, yeah, but it looks really good. So yeah, so I mean, it's like wherever you would be using some kind of herbicide, use this instead. Wherever you use string trimmers, stick with the string trimmers. Okay, and that way you could probably save a little bit of time that way. Okay, but anyway, it looks really good. But after a month, we are seeing some regrowth, but it was less than 70%. I mean, so we still had at least 70% control. We probably had like 80 to 85% control around that. And so that didn't trigger our threshold, so we didn't treat. Okay.
Were we getting broadweeds?
Broadleaf weeds? Yeah.
Instead of the grass?
Yeah, so you can see there's a little bit of clover. It's a little hard because you're distance. There's a little bit of clover right there. This is the kikuyu right along there. So yeah, you know, whatever's mixed in there will come up. Kikuyu grass is kind of interesting though, is that I think, and this is what I've observed, and there's a little bit of data about this, is that when kikuyu grass is decomposing, it actually is a little bit allelopathic. So it suppresses a lot of the weeds in there anyway, okay? So that may not be like the best test to see what's coming up once the competition's released, but yeah.
On the previous example,
Uh-huh.
with the kind of the edging on the curve there,
Okay. I mean, like, oh, around the playground? Let me go back up there. Okay, yeah.
so without, prior to this technology, like one would use an edger, presumably, because you're just trying to keep it off.
Right, if you didn't want any herbicide. Yeah, I mean, typically you'd probably just be edging with a herbicide. Yeah,
So I guess
okay.
my question is, how much time, like with an edger, you kind of go along, so in terms of the speed, what do you think the difference would be?
You mean like an edger with a metal blade as opposed to a string trimmer?
Right.
Yeah, I'd say it's about the same amount of time. Plus, you don't get all that stuff kicked up. Yeah, that was the other thing. Yeah. Right, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd say that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah. So anyway, so just to show you that you can get good edging with that, but just like any other contact herbicide or this, it's only getting the top growth. The kikuyu grass obviously has stolons, and rhizomes, so it's regrowing from there. Whatever's in the seed bank, if the seed bank can be released, that's going to grow up as well. Okay. This is another site. This was kind of interesting. I'm not sure what's going on, but this was Bermuda grass, okay, or it is Bermuda grass, and typically perennials don't, they will regrow, okay, but for some reason, this is a really nice patch of Bermuda grass over a mulch area, which is kind of growing in there. We have not had to retreat that, over maybe once, okay, and so again, I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm not sure if I can actually attribute it to the steam, but for some reason we get very little regrowth of the Bermuda grass at this site. It might be that because it's in the mulch, maybe the rhizomes and stolons are more shallow. Okay, so yeah, right? So, maybe that's doing something as opposed to like going into the ground.
Maybe you made it go dormant or something.
Oh no, that's a really good point because right now we're kind of, at least where I am, we're kind of doing that transition from the winter to summer, summer to winter, and we have to be really careful that we attribute management to the actual control as opposed to just natural dormancy or dieback of the plant. Yeah. So yeah, but this was in the summer, so okay. Yeah, right, yeah. Okay, so that is something you just need to consider, again, just the natural life history of these weeds. Just don't say, oh yeah, the crabgrass is dying. Well, it's going to die anyway this time of year. So that's where it's at. This one was actually kind of funny here. So this is, again, that park. So we did a lot of this trimming. This is a soda machine and just kind of run around the edge. And when we started that day, there was a tree, okay? By the time we finished that day, the tree was gone, okay? So I just did it kind of as a joke to say, yeah, we can take down a tree with that. So but it just so happened that they were removing trees in the park that day. But yeah, that was kind of cool. All right, this is where this type of equipment might shine, okay? Is in controlling weeds in cracks like this. Okay, so this is it with the shower head. Okay, so this applicator here, you have to hold it about this high. What I've seen people do when they are using this, they actually have a tendency to hold it higher. Okay, and you really have to be careful if you do get this to train your applicators. They really need to hold it about this high off the ground. Okay, because the higher up it is, the more heat you're going to lose as it goes down. You want to maximize that heat, but you don't want it right on. You don't want it like this far because then you would lose a lot of your efficiency because your spray swath, if you want to call it, it's only going to be like this big. So this is like the sweet spot, this length. Okay, so you can see how he's holding it, and he's able to just walk at pretty much a normal pace along there. And with that shower head, you get more targeted control. This is actually the inventor here, Jeremy Weiner, but what he actually says in a situation like this, that's best, is you get a string trimmer out there and you trim out all this other stuff and blow it away beforehand, okay? And then you hit it with the sprayer to pick up the rest of it, okay? Because he says it's not about, and I'm not sure I agree with him, but you can kind of he goes, it's not about control, it's about presentation. So what he's saying is that as long as it looks good, okay, don't worry if you don't get 100% control, because you're just looking at essentially that threshold, what people will accept. So by doing the trimming, that reduces a lot of the, what it looks as bad, and then following it up with the spraying helps just the appearance. Okay, yeah.
So what do you think the weed is there? Is it like main weed?
That is, shoot, it might be purslane.
Purslane?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that's what it is. Okay, yeah, pretty sure. Okay, yeah. Okay, so so we did a trial in a parking lot as well, and so so here's Guy. First he's trimming the weeds, and then we're going to come back and hit it with the steamer. So this is what we had. This was I think 2 weeks after we did it. So here's just a steaming, okay, and you can see up here, this is, we had some good cracks in there. And so you can see a little bit of regrowth at the top left-hand side of this one. Trimming alone didn't really do it, so because it was a test, so we're just doing comparison like if you just trimmed. And so you can see this was Bermuda grass coming back in there. So that really didn't do it. And this is trimming plus steam in this replication. So you can see we've got pretty much 100% control. You can kind of see the, what I call like weed carcasses in there. So, and actually, that's something that you might consider or worry about a little bit. I don't know if worry is the right word, but you're still going to have like the dead weed parts there. Okay, so it's not going to be beautiful. You're still going to have dead plants. So again, that might be a reason why you might want to trim first, because otherwise you still just get a mound of leaves and dead leaves and so forth on there. So yeah, so trimming plus steam, that seems to work okay, but if you don't want to do that extra effort, I think if we started running statistics on this, that steam will probably be just about the same. Okay. This was, I think, probably 4 weeks. Okay. Yeah, this grew a little slower because it didn't get any irrigation. It's in the summer. It was just whatever was in the parking lot. Okay. Tree wells, that's another place where glyphosate's used a lot, right? Because you just want to have that nice circle around there so you don't get the mower or the trimmer bumping up against the trunk and hurting that. And so this is the kind of thing that we get. This is about 2 weeks after a treatment in a tree well. Now, thing about tree wells, they kind of go down, right? They're kind of like a concave site. Because of that, we get a lot of the water collecting from this. And so we got pretty good control. What's dead here is goosegrass. I'm not sure if, do you get that up here? Goosegrass, anybody? It's kind of related to crabgrass. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so goosegrass, good control. We get some knotweed, not so well controlled. It killed, and again, it's a little hard to see, but like from here out, that part was damaged, but as long as there's some part of the plant's alive, you still get regrowth here. So here it is regrowing up there. So that was kind of an issue. Now, so this obviously would have to be retreated, sooner than what we expected. But the other problem is because of all that water that's kind of accumulating in there, that's as if you just irrigated that site. So again, if there's any seeds in the seed bank that are ready to germinate, you're going to get another flush. That might not be too bad of a problem because you're like, yeah, man, I'm going to get all these weeds now. But if you come back and treat it at the right time, you can actually deplete the seed bank. So that might be helpful. We're kind of looking at that as well. Okay. So this is again another site where we did it, and so it's not so great. Okay, so you can see we do have some control around here, right? But where the plants are able to regrow, like here, it still comes up. So again, this would be a threshold for us to retreat. Okay, all right. So this is something just to show you if you're going to be using this. This is the first time. This is 1 week after the first time we treated it, and we're still kind of learning. And Guy did a great job. Okay, he put the head right up against the edge and was able to really get that nice clean edge that I showed you. Had another guy do it, and he really couldn't quite get it. And so you can see that he couldn't really know where he was putting the head, and so you get all this. It's not quite as nice, right? So you get this edging this here, but there's a lot of still plants growing quite well over there. So that's another thing, you're still going to, this isn't, set it and forget it. You got to really train the applicators to know how they're going to be working on there. So yeah, so here, you know, if I came back with this and saw this, okay, that wouldn't be acceptable to me, because that would just be almost like I didn't do it, because that's only about, that's like 40% control looking at it.
Could
Yeah.
you tell what they were doing differently in their style?
Yeah, what happened is that what Guy did, he put the head right up against the edge, okay, right up here, okay. Whereas the other guy, Fritz, he kind of put half the head on the pad, you know, thinking that he would get better coverage, but essentially it made it kind of lift up a little bit, and so he didn't get as good contact. Yeah, but we were trying it. I couldn't say one was going to work or not the first time. I thought maybe the other one would have worked better, but you know, that's sort of what we saw. Okay. All right, so here's that the tree well, and this is what I'm talking about as far as the sort of the weed release. Okay, so this is purslane mostly in here, and this is the summer. You know, purslane's a warm season annual, summer annual, and so what happened is with this release, okay, and then all this water that came into this tree well, and keep in mind that, which I guess a little information I didn't tell you, is that this park really tries to manage its irrigation. And by managing its irrigation means that they don't irrigate that much. And so what happened is all of a sudden, you know, this tree well gets a lot of water, and there's all these seeds in the seed bank, and they're going woohoo! So they came up. And so right now that was a release of the purslane. Okay, so if you didn't do anything after that, you would have just a big mass of purslane growing there. And so what you really have to do is, after this flush of weeds, is come back as soon as you start seeing them germinate and treat it again. Okay, it's this system, you know, like by releasing, you know, by sort of encouraging germination and then treating, and then encouraging germination and treating again. That's a well-known use in agricultural weed management. In, you know, when you're producing, let's say lettuce, it's called a stale seed bank technique. And essentially, before you plant, you irrigate, you let all the weeds come up, and then you hit it or cultivate, you know, kind of get that first flush of weeds out. And you can do it twice, and that really depletes and as long as you don't, you know, cultivate. I mean, you cultivate shallowly to get rid of them if you don't want herbicides or something. But by doing that, you're reducing the amount of seeds. Remember I said like the first inch is where most of the problematic weeds are residing. Okay? And so if you can deplete most of them and don't bring up any ones from the lower down, then you can actually reduce the amount of weeds that become problematic. So essentially that's what's happening, but you have to remember to come back and retreat. So again, that's why monitoring is very important with this type of system, because if you wait too long, you know, it's hard, you know, just like with any kind of weed management technique you're going to be using, the bigger the plant is, the bigger the weed is, the harder it's going to be to manage.
Cheryl, seems like it might make sense. That might be a good time to use a burn down.
Yeah, it's absolutely, you could do a burn down with that. That would probably be time, yeah, be absolutely faster than that. Yeah, so whatever you're going to use. So, you know, and we haven't done, that takes so much time, but, you know, the best thing, you know, like any IPM system is a combination of techniques, right? And so, yeah, you know, if you can really kind of tune it in to like, okay, the first time we're going to go through with the weed steamer, that takes some time, and then the next time, you know, but you get pretty good weed control. Next time you get this flush, you can save a lot of time with that contact herbicide if it's appropriate site. You know, like sometimes it's not appropriate site. But yeah, and that'll save you a lot of time to come back with that. But again, monitoring is really key, because again, if you're going to be using a contact herbicide, they don't work that well in bigger plants. So you got to make sure you're going to get it in the seedling or not much past the seedling stage. Okay? Yeah, Andrew.
In a tree well situation like this, do you think you could damage surface roots?
We haven't seen that. We've come like right up against, even ficus, you know, which has pretty shallow roots. We've come up with that, and we haven't really noticed it. Again, you know, I think the temperature is really well buffered by the soil. Okay, so by the time it gets down to, even if the soil, the roots are high up, they're not really damaged. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So, so we did a treatment. Let's see. So like in October. Okay. And so we didn't do another treatment here until, this is right before we did our next one. So this one we had a 4-week interval. And you can see, remember how nice that looked, that other picture? You had that nice edging and so forth. It's all grown back, okay? So it's our experience, even in the, you know, as we get into the cooler temperatures, that a 4-week interval is too long. So really, if you're going to be using this system, you're going to be looking at 2 or 3 week time. So you have to really figure that out for your labor and you know, scheduling. So that's kind of a drawback with something like this. Again, where'd that guy go? Hand weeding. I think you said hand weeding. There's somebody, but
Do you think
yeah.
that it killed just the foliage and then all the root?
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah,
rhizomes were all
it's
still viable?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Again, so you know, just like a contact herbicide, just killing the top. If we're really lucky, it's kind of damaging a little bit of things that might be growing on the top. Let's say the stolons, and it's not really moving in there. But you know, nevertheless, there's no residual, okay? And so even if things might be growing in, you know, again, this is kikuyu grass that grows pretty well, okay? Yeah, I mean, you can see there's still a little bit of control around here, okay, along here. But you know, for the most part, you would say that this is zero control, okay? No difference. Okay. So yeah, so again, if you're considering doing something like this, you really got to factor in how many times you're going to have to do it and you know, decide whether you're going to be doing that time-wise. Okay? Same with the tree wills. Okay? So this is, again, 4 weeks after treatment. You know, we get the kikuyu grass coming in again. We're getting some broadleaves coming in. So this looks like, you know, hasn't even been treated at all. Okay? So 4 weeks is too long. Okay? Good. Now this is something. Now, any questions about that? Can kind of move in a little bit. Okay. So this is another situation. So this is Bermuda grass that kind of got out of hand. That this is like a parking median strip area. I'm sorry, Bermuda grass. This is Raphiolepis, Indian hawthorn, or India hawthorn. And so that ended up growing into the plant, the Bermuda. And so it's, you know, if we did steam over the top, okay, it will likely injure that shrub. But we went as close as we could to kind of get rid of, you know, kill as much Bermuda grass as we could. We could get in there pretty close, and you can see it does a pretty good job on this Bermuda grass in this case. But this gets back to that point I was making about the presentation. It's like, yeah, okay, I killed it, you know, or it still looks trashy, right? You know, so you still got to remove it. So it's just something, I guess, to consider when you're doing something like this is where is it appropriate to use and where it's not appropriate. Here, you know, it didn't really matter. This is like a maintenance yard. They just had plants there to kind of, you know, break up the concrete, I guess. So, but nevertheless, we could get pretty close to the plant in there. So in some situations, you can use it. Okay. Other considerations about using this machine is we had 2 people actually, you know, at the hose because, you know, the hose is long and we've got a lot of obstacles. So one person would be at the end of the wand. One person would help move the hose. And then I was at the end, you know, kind of, you know, making the adjustments. So you could do it with 2 people. You could do it with 1 person. I would say if you get that little machine, even though it's the smallest machine, you still need 3 people if you're going some distance with it. Probably okay with 2. Guy and I often just do it by ourselves. So we can do that, but I have to run from the machine. I help him move the hose, and then, you know, run back to the machine to make sure everything's dialed in. Okay. We also found, you know, we have to, you know, because the park's in use, you know, we have like cones around to make, you know, just for safety, just to have people make sure that, you know, if they're so dense they can't figure out that there's a hose, you know, across the sidewalk. We've got all kinds of things like that, just to, no judgment there, right? So.
What about riding a bike over it?
You can ride a bike over it. You can drive over it. No big deal. Yeah. Okay. So any questions about? Yeah.
Just a couple, I mean, maybe a little outside this climate, but
It's okay.
used on like a roof to get moss off.
Yep.
And
Yep.
how about like an icy path kind of situation?
Mhm. Yeah. What's ice? Yeah. You know, the other thing about this machine, the weed steamer, you know, that I just showed you, it comes with these other, like 2 or 3 other nozzles that you can attach that are more like high pressure steaming for like cleaning off like moss or gum or graffiti and things like that too. So you can use it on other things as well. Yeah. In fact, I didn't even know it was there. You know, I just saw like these three, like a red, green, and blue thing, you know, attached. And I'm like, yeah, I thought it was just like buttons I wasn't supposed to touch. And then when the guy came out to do the demo, he's like, well, you know, you can use these. And he pulled them out. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's good. Bonus. So, okay. All right, how am I doing on time? Good. Okay. All right. So the other machine, so this was the Weed Techniques one. So there's another one called Foam Stream, okay? And this is the Foam Stream. This one is probably in size and usage is probably equivalent to the one that Salvador has. You know, it's a bigger machine. It's used for bigger areas. It's on a trailer like this. Got a long hose. Here's the wand. You see it's got a different kind of head here because foam comes out of there as opposed to high pressure steam. They do have a smaller one. Okay, hang on.
The difference of this one, it has a computerized control.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But they do have a smaller one that you can put on like the back of like a gator or something like that. That's a lot easier to use. And so like Salvador said, so this one is like, okay, so the one that I'm using, okay, I think that's like somebody said, hey, let's put all these parts together in the garage and see what happens, okay? That's the kind of feeling I have about it. This one is like a Lexus, okay? So, you know, you turn it on, you press a button, and then when it turns green, did you see it in action? Yeah. Do you have one?
We went to demo work, right? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So.
The small version.
Yeah, okay, so I haven't seen this. Yeah, so you know, so you press a button and then when it turns green, you press another button and it's ready to go. Okay, so it's like nothing you really have to mess with. Yeah, the engineering is just incredible in this one as opposed to the other one. On the other hand, you know, the equivalent one for the Weed Techniques is about $25,000 and I think this is about $40,000. Yeah, you're like, right? Yeah, so that's kind of high. Yeah, and so here's the tank in the back here. Okay, so here's the machine. Here's the tank that holds water. Here's the tank that holds the stuff that's the foam. Okay, the foam, they have two things that make the foam. One, depending on what your use is, one is like organic olive oil and like sugars or something like that. And the other one, I think I might have, oh, here we go, sorry. Okay, because I just added this. Okay, so this is what they just take a bunch of stuff. Okay, potatoes, corn, wheat, everything. Okay, and a little bit of palm oil. So that's one of them. Okay, but if you want to do an organic system, they actually have organic olive oil for, you know, because some people are like, yeah, you know, I really don't get it, you know, if you're not going to be eating the landscape. But, you know, some people want an organic one, and so they do have an olive oil-based material. It's proprietary, okay, so you have to buy it from them and use, that's the only thing you can use, okay. I apologize, I don't have the price of what that extra stuff is. It looks like you have to buy it in maybe 10-gallon, maybe that's 5-gallon buckets to use it, okay. So let's see here. I think the next one's kind of cool. All right, let's see if we can make this work. So here's what it looks like. So they put it on there. This is, I can say that this grass is, in fact, I doubt actually, if this grass here, no, I take that back. They treated this was a demo. They treated this about 2 or 3 hours before I got there. Okay, so you can see there's some damage here on the grass. I think this is fescue here. So you can see there's a little bit of damage, you know, 3 hours later. Here's, I can't tell what that is actually, but you can see there's some death. Okay, it's kind of like folding over. Here's plantain. It really doesn't look like it's injured too much though. So it's not like 100% control from what I could tell from this, but there is some. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that you get. Chris was saying they didn't get a lot of foam when you had the demo.
Yeah, you had one picture on that shows a lot more foam than we saw.
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of your others.
Yeah, well actually it's the, I think it's, let's see if I can get the video to go here.
They put it on the pavement and it's really just like a bunch of hot water with some flecks of foam.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Oops. Oh, okay. I'm gonna see if I can run it again, because yeah, not sure if this will work or not. Ah, where is it? It's in the background. Let's try. I'm gonna try some.
You need to just move
Yeah.
out of this. And
Oh, yeah, let's just go to that.
I hit it on the desktop.
Okay.
Get more
this.
foam on that $100,000 box.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah, let's see if this will work. I still gotta.
Oh, it's moved over. You should just move it over the middle.
Oh, it's going the wrong way.
Somehow you moved. Oh, you did the double screen. That's why.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna try it again here. Where's the cursor?
Easy to do a duplicate screen.
Oh, I don't know.
Want me to do that?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
Okay.
Chris is gonna help me out here. Okay.
This works.
Yeah. Oh, still the.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's in the
Okay.
background?
Okay. I tell you what, close the PowerPoint because I can open that up again.
Do this.
Okay. Bear with us here. Nope. You get what it sounds like. You get
Is it quieter than the other one?
It is quieter, actually. I mean, it's still noisy, but it's you could use this in more places, I think. Yeah.
I don't know, Cheryl. I don't know
Okay.
why it's not
Well,
doing that.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. We'll do it after I close the PowerPoint. Okay. I should. Yeah. Okay. Make that happen. Okay. So yeah. So I've only got 2 more slides, and then I'll just close the PowerPoint and hopefully be able to show you this. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so this was the foam steamer. Okay, and that is looks like horseweed or mare's tail there. Okay, so it does have some control there. So like I said, a few hours after it was treated. Now here's the fescue on the side here. That doesn't look very injured. The broadleaves look more injured, although not everything. It looks like it is khaki weed here. So yeah, so it's kind of weird. It's not as good, in my opinion, control of the weeds as the weed techniques one. But on the other hand, then I kind of was giving the manufacturer a little bit of tips there. I said, well, you know what? It might be helpful if this were something like you used on a turf area, if you can really dial it in to control the broadleaves, but not injure the turf. So yeah, so anyway, we'll see. This is really good. Somebody mentioned moss. I think this would be really good for moss control or algae control because, and we'll look at that video and you'll see what I mean when you see that. Okay. So I did have some observations between the 2 of them. If you're considering buying one, is that okay? So to the point about the sound, Weed Techniques it's pretty noisy. They're going to have a new one out that's going to be electric. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think it's more for like maybe a homeowners association or something like that where they don't need a lot of room because since it's electric, you got to have a long extension cord to make it work. I think. I don't know how. Well, it might be a battery, but I'm not so sure. Okay, about moving it around, the smaller one, again, it's pretty difficult, even the smallest one that I use, 500 pounds, and the cart it's on is not very amenable to like turning and so forth, but you can do it with the hoses. Okay. Better precise application, that's where you can get some good edging with the Weed Techniques. And again, we kind of lost it because you didn't see the video, but because it's a foam, it kind of spreads out like an amoeba. So you might not be able to get as good edging and so forth that you want. There we go. Okay, engineering we talked about, price, more expensive, but you're getting that better engineering in my opinion. But if it doesn't control the weeds as well as I think it should, might not be worth it anyway. Okay, so.
Cheryl, did you try it? Did you go back a couple weeks later for the foam screen? Did you have any kind of?
I didn't, and I wanted to, but it's unfortunately it's some distance where they did that demo, some distance from where I am, so it's not like on my regular route. But yeah, I should do that. Okay, so that is all I have for that presentation, this part. But I really want to see if I can get you to see that. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully this will work. Magical. So. No. Okay. It just doesn't show up. All right. All right. Do you guys want to take like a 5-minute break? We can figure this out. Oh, that big? Yeah? We're going to try it again, and hopefully this will work this time. Okay. So you can see this is a lot of foam here. Okay.
There's way more than we have, right?
Yeah. Maybe this one was the olive oil one, so maybe that's it. It's just a very short video. But I'm going to do it again just to kind of point out a couple things here.
What's the temperature?
I don't know, really. What, 212? Yeah. So you see, it's like it spreads out more, right? Okay, so if you're doing like a big area, this would probably be faster, okay, than the other one. Okay, so that's kind of a benefit of this one. But yeah, so I mean, I can't remember what the temperature is. On their website, yeah, on their website, they have a lot of information on their website. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so I don't want to have to talk too loud. Okay, so if you just give me a break here. Okay, so thank you, Salvador. So at the wand, it's 208 Fahrenheit. 2 inches above, or at the weed, it is 147 Fahrenheit, which isn't great, okay, but that's probably enough to really cause some foliar damage. And the idea, oh, I'm sorry, I've got them backwards. They say at contact is 203 inches, 203 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas the steam is 147 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think that's accurate, to be honest. But again, I haven't put the thermocouples down there to really measure it, so not really sure. But, you know, so we have to get up a little bit higher, but I mean, but really we want to like break the cells. That's the real key, is to kind of get the cells to leak, and that's the kind of temperature we want to get to. So this is pretty cool. I mean, actually, was this, where's Salvador? Oh yeah, where'd you get, is this online, or is they gave this to you?
They sent it to us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm going to have to see if I can find that and do a little bit of verification on my own for this. But yeah, okay. So anyway, to answer your question, we're looking at about 203 degrees. Okay.
So is the name of that company Foam Stream?
Yeah, yeah. They do. You know, I mean, they have a really good website. Yeah, so just go foamstream.something or else. Yeah, you'll find it for sure. Yeah, a lot of information is on their website, and videos as well. Yeah, and then Chris is going to post the pictures from the work he's done. Yeah.
So, I mean, Salvador has maybe a few more observations to share on his trials with this.
Yeah,
but-
so I'm going to let you
but I
guys
would
go.
just say that, you
Okay.
know, I would like echo
Oh.
that machine is really cool, right? I mean, it has the light, it tells you when it's ready to go. You can be all the way down the path, you can look back and see the green light, you know, I'm ready to go, I can push the trigger.
Yeah.
Automatic, everything, pretty much. And it can fit on that, the Toro, so like
Toro Wilen, one section of Toro Wilen.
Yeah, and so you can get on a little path. But like I said, oh, sorry about that. I keep forgetting. So it was a very cool machine. It's too bad in a way. So they were out demonstrating it on a path next to the slough, and there were a lot of weeds between the cracks, and they tried it on some fennel. And when he was doing it on the fennel, I was timing that. He was standing there for like a minute. Oh, really? Like just foam, foam, foam. It still didn't get it. It still didn't get it. And they tried cutting back some pampas grass.
Was cut long, and I spray. How long they spray for? The game stay like for
I don't know, 15.
5-10 minutes, something over the pampas. But a week and a half after I check it, and the pampas was growing like food. So it looks like they fertilized it. And the grass on the cracks on the edges, it was dead for sure. It works very well to kill the grass. Not too high, probably 4-6 inch high. But on the fennel and pampas didn't work. Should be probably small grasses or weeds to be working fine.
How about on the path?
Yeah, on the path
cracks?
and the cracks, it works very well.
on
It
the
was dead, yeah. Even on the wall, it was taller grass. It was all dead.
I mean, but to its credit, though, I mean, pampas grass and fennel are hard to control with anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it was pretty hard to test.
It's a very tough root, so not easy to kill. Yeah, but that was my things I found out after 1 week and a half, so probably might damage the tissue of the plants because the oils on the foam. That's my look.
Theory, yeah. Yeah, so, I don't know, and like I said, there was hardly any foam. I mean, so it was really just hot water. It was, look at the path. I mean, I'll bring some photos in, I'll post them. It was a lot of water sitting on the path with little pieces of foam floating on it. So the purpose of the foam is to hold the heat in so that it's there longer and has a better chance of breaking down the cells, but I can't see that it's doing that. Now, when it was on the bed, when he put it on the bed, where there was some grass there, it held the foam a little bit better, but it was still nothing like your picture. So it might have been maybe it wasn't a good mix.
But the big grass on the top, it was dead.
Yeah.
The grass, but not the foam. Yeah.
So. What? Yeah, I know. I know, I keep forgetting. Here, you can have that.
Okay. Yeah, so that pretty much is my presentation. So if anybody has any questions, I know you asked a lot. Andrew, do you have one? Yeah.
In theory, could these systems be used in the rain? I know you guys don't have rain down there, but in theory, could you use the systems in the rain?
Okay, hang on a sec. So could I use the systems in the rain? I don't see why not, okay? I mean, because you're really doing the localized heat treatment, so, it's not like it's going to be colder. You can do it in the winter, you can do it in the summer. I can't see why you can't do it in the rain either, okay? Yeah.
Well, that's a potential advantage over any kind of herbicide.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there are advantages, obviously. So you don't get drift, beautiful. You can use it near where people are working, so there's not like an exposure issue or things like that. Yeah, so there are definitely advantages of using it over certain herbicides. Yeah.
Other questions?
Okay, yeah.
We're just using a torch on cracks and using a torch on cracks and or constrained right of ways. Do you see any
Okay.
advantage over a torch?
Right, so a torch, is, you gotta consider where I live, okay, or where I'm doing this stuff. Yeah, so I am not a big fan of it because, anything could spark it, in Southern California, the fire was started just from a guy hitting a golf club against a rock, okay? So, so anything's, burnable. So, in my opinion, these, fire, okay, is that you should probably pretty much use it when it's misty or rainy, okay, or like today maybe, like after it's rained and you're not going to have very dry things. So those are those kind of limitations, like, hey, I just can't use it anywhere. You might be able to use it again, like in a parking lot, okay? I think that's fine. Have a lot of burnable, flammable materials, and obviously the equipment needed is a lot, less technical than what I showed you. So again, getting to the IPM part of it is like use the right equipment for the right thing, most economical way that you can think about. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Wait, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because you're going to be famous now. Oh, yeah. So for rubber surfaces, that's an interesting question. We didn't, I don't think we did it over like rubber mulch or something like that. Is that what you're talking about maybe? Or?
Those rubber puzzle pieces that fit together.
Oh, huh. Yeah, don't know. I have a feeling it would be okay, but I can't guarantee it. Okay, yeah.
I have a question. Are you going to do some more studies on the foam and get some?
Oh, so yeah, so the company that has a foam, they'd like me to do more, but I don't have the the capacity to do more than what I'm doing right now. So yeah, to be honest, I really don't predict me doing anything with it. But it's interesting, okay? Yeah.
I think you're right. Maybe we didn't give it a fair trial
Uh-huh.
on pompous and fennel, although,
Right.
I'd love to see if we could get more foam with the other formulation, let's say.
Right. Yeah, because I'm surprised because this just really, it was very foamy. Okay. Yeah. But again, I think for something like this, work really well. Like, all right, so it's a European machine. Okay, it comes from England. And this is the one, this is like the equivalent to Waipuna. So they bought the patent for that.
I'm sorry, but I would still see it in Waipuna. With the foam, it's a big dog and pony show and the kill wasn't there.
Uh-huh, okay, yeah, and so, like I said, here, I didn't really see it. You saw, like, 2 weeks afterwards, you could still see kill. So, yeah, I mean, I think they've improved it, but I didn't really follow up myself. But, maybe Chris has that information.
I came in at the tail end of the Waikuna era.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I
But I
remember
mean,
people
but,
saying,
yeah.
well, people had mixed reviews. Bob, where's Bob go?
Well, the other
Yeah.
part was, you talked about the control over the aesthetic, right? Like
Yeah,
you
right.
control the aesthetics.
Uh-huh, yeah,
Well, that was the thing with the Waikuna, you'd go through and it would be still, it's just like if you went through with glyphosate, you get
Uh-huh.
the dead plant material,
Right.
you still have the aesthetic.
right,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Uh-huh, yeah, so that's, there's always that issue about that. Again, sometimes glyphosate's not the right tool. Even though it's like very easy to use and cost effective and everything, but, we've just been so complacent, that's what we're always used, where sometimes it's better to edge or, use something else. Yeah.
So, you say they manufacture this in Europe, so are
Correct.
they using that regularly over
Yeah,
there?
oh, that's-
Or is
that's-
are they kind of
Okay.
playing around with it like
Right.
we are over
Yeah, so that's the point I was going to get to, is that, so good, thank you for doing that, is that, in Europe, what they have, the weather's different, it's high moisture, a lot of, high relative humidity, and they have a bad problem with mosses and algae growing in the streets and the sidewalks, those cobblestone places that, everybody's like, oh, so cute. But it works really well for those situations. This foam can just go and just kind of cover the street in a short period of time and really does a good job. I actually told this company, because I do a lot of work with greenhouse and nursery growers as well, and they've got a big problem with liverwort and mollusks. And I said, you know what? If they got into that market, like trying to control weeds under benches, I think that's where they could really do well in it. But, it's not a big enough market for them. So again, it's like difference between Europe and us here. Maybe this works somewhere else, maybe the East Coast better. I don't know.
Has there been any studies on intensive agriculture where they make passes with this very frequently, like sterilizing soil or
Right. Okay.
that kind of dead zones?
Sure. So the Weed Techniques actually has an ag side, okay? So that the first one with the steam, so they've got these really kind of like sort of upside down pie plates, except bigger, that they can come alongside like a grape trellis area, and kind of do that, and that, same effect, okay? It kills the grasses and the broadleaves along there. So yeah, so there's that. It's not so much again trying to kill the weeds and the seeds in the seed bank or anything like that. It's just again top growth. Now, there's a colleague of mine, Steve Fenimore, who does more of what you're doing, or talking about getting the steam inside the soil, okay, and really trying to raise the temperature and then sort of use it as an alternative to methyl bromide, for example.
Would that be strawberries and sand?
I'm sorry?
Strawberries and sand.
Yeah. But the problem with that is, and we've done it, and I've worked with him a little bit doing that. Problem is that uses so much water and it's so slow. I think they did 2 acres at the farm that I worked with. 2 acres took 10 hours, okay, to get to that point, because you really have to have that heat in the ground, with the special equipment and actually have it sit there for a little bit before you can move forward. So yeah, so I mean, to answer your question, yes, but is it, as ready for prime time as this is? No. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm going to cut it there. All right, going.
Last 10.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.